today we will be talking on happiness in multicultural context. We will be taking care of the happiness in the multicultural context, followed by its impact on happiness, cross-cultural happiness factors, importance in multicultural understanding and community. So let us now start with the introduction to happiness in multicultural context. The search for happiness crosses all cultural barriers. Around the world, people from many cultural backgrounds, they pursue happiness since it is very crucial to human well-being. However, there can be considerable cultural differences in how happiness is seen and experienced. In multicultural settings, it is very crucial to investigate and value the variety of viewpoints and the circumstances that influence pleasure. Now, this part will comprehend the human nature and better and advance the development of inclusive and the peaceful civilization. We can actually create more potent tactics to improve the well-being and advance the intercultural understanding if we are aware of the numerous cultural lenses through which the happiness is seen. Now, we will analyze the ideas of happiness in multicultural situations and examine how the social structure, cultural norms, values, and the beliefs affect both the individual and the societal well-being. We are all look at how the acculturalization and the cultural adaptability and the cultural hybridity affect the people who move between the different cultural realm in terms of happiness and the life satisfaction. The effects of globalization, migration, and the internet age must also be taken into account as they have all boosted the cross-cultural intersections and interactions. The blending of many cultural factors, it might deepen our knowledge of happiness while also providing particular difficulties as the culture grows increasingly integrated. And we will also be noted that the happiness in the multicultural setting is a very complex and a dynamic subject that necessitates a careful examination of the cultural influences and intercultural interactions. We can create a situation where people from the different backgrounds can actually thrive and discover a feeling of fulfillment and the happiness that resonates with their distinctive cultural identities by encouraging the cultural empathy and embracing the diversity. Through this investigation, we will learn about the characteristics of the pleasure that are shared by all people while also recognizing the value of the cultural variation. Let us now start with what is multiculturalism and its impact on happiness. The coexistence of the various cultural groups in a single society is referred to as multiculturalism. The recognition, appreciation, and celebration of the cultural diversity are the key tenets of this social and political ideology. The concept of multicultural society is one that upholds the value and the preservation of the various cultural backgrounds, beliefs and practices and traditions. The multiculturalism can have a variety of effects on the happiness. The first is your social cohesion and inclusivity. People from the different cultures, origins constantly connect and engage with one another in multicultural societies. People are more likely to feel that they belong and are a part of the community when they are included and accepted, regardless of their cultural background. As a result, people may feel happier since they are a part of a larger community. The second is your perspectives are enriched by the cultural diversity. Because the exposure to the different cultures broadens one's outlook on the world. Gaining the knowledge of many cultures, customs, and the values can actually increase one's capacity for empathy and understanding. And this kind of an openness to the different viewpoints can actually promote a personal development and a deeper appreciation of life, which actually improve the overall happiness. The third is your access to a wide range of the social support networks. People living in a multicultural cultures have access to a wide range of the social support networks that come from the various cultural communities. Such a wide range of support network can give people a more robust safety net during trying times, which actually raises their level of life satisfaction and also about the well-being. The next we talk about is the struggle with identity and a culturalization. Multiculturalism can offer the issues with identity and acculturation for those with immigration backgrounds or the people from the marginalized culture. It can be very difficult to strive a balance between the preserving one's own cultural heritage and also assimilating into the society at large, which has an impact on the happiness levels. The next we talk about is the creativity and innovation. The multiculturalism and the surroundings can actually foster both of these traits. When individuals from the various backgrounds, they work together and exchange the ideas, they can create a rich tapestry of experiences and the knowledge that actually results in a creation of original and cutting-edge solutions to the issues. Now, this sense of group accomplishments and advancement might enhance the happiness. It is very crucial to highlight that the impact of multiculturalism on the happiness may not be consistent across all societies or the settings. The tension between the cultural groups or the resistance to change from one segment of society might provide difficulties. The successful multicultural policy implementation frequently necessitates through study of the historical, social, and also very pertinent political aspects. And encouraging the multiculturalism and the cultural diversity has the potential to increase the happiness through cultivating the inclusive societies, eliminating the discrimination, and enhancing the people's lives through intercultural engagement. To achieve these favorable results, however, the continual efforts to address the difficulties and develop the understanding and the harmony among the varied ethnic groups are required. Now let us talk about a very important topic called cross-cultural happiness factors. Now there are many elements and factors that influence the people's well-being and the life satisfaction across the different cultures and societies and are referred to as the cross-cultural happiness factors. The happiness is a common human need. The elements that contribute to it vary greatly depending on the cultural norms, beliefs, and of course the social systems. So let us first talk about identifying the common happiness factors across the cultures. The happiness is experienced and expressed differently depending on the culture. There are a number of universal elements that contribute to the overall fulfillment and the well-being. Now these elements, which have been shown to transcend the cultural barriers, are thought to be very essential component of the human happiness. The first is your social interactions. Now it is well acknowledged that happiness depends on having a strong social ties and the meaningful interactions. Individual happiness and the communal happiness may be valued differently across the culture, but the value of the social support and the healthy connections is universal. The second is wellness and good health. Happiness requires both the physical and the mental health. The quest of health is a shared objective, despite the fact that the different cultures may take a different approaches to the healthcare and the well-being practices. The third being the personal development and fulfillment. Now, the happiness is regarded as a product of one's capacity for the personal development, self-improvement, and the goal achievement. A sense of the purpose and the success enhances the general well-being. The next is your expressing the appreciation and adopting a positive view on life. They are the two components of the happiness that are common to all cultures. Although the different cultures may have their own customs or the ways of showing thanks, the fundamental idea is universal. The next is your religion and spirituality. Many cultures view the spiritual or the religious pursuit as the sources of joy and solace. The practice of spiritual rituals and the faith in something greater than one own self can have a good effect on one's well-being. Now, we talk about the nature and the environment. Having a very positive relationship with the nature and valuing the environment can make you very happier. The stronger connected cultures frequently include nature into their rituals and the everyday activities. The freedom and the autonomy are often linked to happiness in societies that also place a very high value on individuals' liberty and self-determination. The ability to make decisions and follow one's desires is associated with higher levels of life satisfaction. Now, even though these elements are universal across the civilizations, their relative weight and the mode of presentation, it might change. How these elements manifest in terms of individual and the societal well-being, it might vary depending on the cultural values, conventions, and the social institutions. It is actually possible to promote a pleasure and raise the standard of living for the people from various backgrounds by developing the cultural sensitive ways with the aid of an understanding of these variations. The next is your understanding how the culture influences the percentage and the perception of the happiness. The culture has a big influence on how people perceive and experience the happiness. The people's perception of happiness, the elements that contribute to it, and the means by which it is pursued varied widely among the cultures. The culture influences the happiness perception in a variety of ways, including the definition of happiness. What does it mean to be happy? The happiness may be defined differently in the different cultures. In some cultures, happiness is associated with inner peace and contentment, whereas in others, it is associated with accomplishments, the riches, and the social standing. A society's cultural norms, values, and they determine what is considered a pleasant and fulfilling existence. The first is your importance of emotions. The positive feelings such as joy and satisfaction, they are actually valued in some societies, and the others value negative emotions such as grief and rage higher. The expression of the feelings Happiness can be shaped by how emotions are actually expressed and perceived in a culture. Some cultures may encourage the outward show of delight, while others may emphasize the emotional moderation. Now, talking about life's objectives, what do people want out of their lives? The personal success is the purpose of life in several civilizations. In others, it is more vital to give back to the community or live a meaningful life. Now, the religion and spirituality play a vital role. The religious and the spiritual practices can have a significant impact on people's perception of happiness. In cultures with the strong religious convictions, for example, happiness may be related with the spiritual growth and the devotion of the religious ideals. Now, there are only few examples of how the culture influences the people's perception of happiness. It is very critical and crucial to realize that there is no universal notion of happiness. What makes one happy might not make another happy. So we may, however, better comprehend our own happiness and the happiness of others by studying the cultural influences that influence our perception of happiness. So we will be talking concretely about some illustrations and examples in this regard. The individual achievement and the success are frequently associated with the happiness in the Western culture. Now, this is reflected in how the pleasure is measured in these societies, which frequently emphasizes the criteria like income, wealth, and a work satisfaction. Happiness is more likely to be connected with harmony and balance in the Eastern culture. Now, this is evident in how the pleasure is measured in these cultures, which frequently emphasizes the aspects such as the social ties, spirituality, and a feeling of life purpose. In the collectivist cultures, happiness is more likely to be seen as a group or community phenomena. This is reflected in the way that happiness is expressed in these cultures, which often involves sharing a positive emotion with others. Now, coming on to the individualistic cultures, happiness is more likely to be seen as individual experience. This is reflected in the way that happiness is expressed in these cultures, while often involves expressing the positive emotions in private. Now, understanding how the culture impacts the happiness perception is again critical for promoting the well-being and establishing the policies that meet the unique requirement of the different cultural groups. It also emphasizes the necessity of the cultural sensitivity and also avoiding imposing a one-size-fits-all approach to the pleasure and also to the life satisfaction. Now let us talk about the importance of intercultural understanding and communication. The intercultural understanding and the communication, they play a very pivotal role in today's globalized world. As the societies become more interconnected and diverse, it becomes increasingly essential to foster the mutual understanding and effective communication among the people from the different cultural backgrounds. So, we will be now talking on the reasons why intercultural understanding and communication is of paramount importance. The first and the foremost is it promotes the peace and the harmony. The intercultural understanding, it helps the break down stereotypes, the prejudice and the misconceptions about the other cultures. It fosters the empathy and compassion, reducing the conflicts and promoting a peaceful coexistence. The next is your enhances the global business and the trade. In the context of the intercultural business, understanding different cultural norms and practices is actually vital for the successful negotiations and the partnerships. The miscommunication or the cultural insensitivity can actually lead to misunderstandings and, of course, the lost business opportunities. The next is it strengthens the diplomatic relations. In the intercultural diplomacy, intercultural communication is vital for building the trust and the mutual understanding between the nations. It fosters the peaceful dialogue and cooperation. The next is it reduces the miscommunication and the cultural clashes. The misunderstanding arising from the cultural differences can actually lead to the conflicts. Intercultural understanding minimizes the chances of miscommunication and the cultural clashes. The next is it preserves and celebrates the cultural heritage. By understanding and respecting the different cultures, we can preserve and celebrate the unique traditions, languages, and the custom contributing to the cultural preservation. So at the end, we can say the intercultural understanding and communications are indispensable for promoting peace, cooperation, and inclusivity in our interconnected world. It empowers the individual to embrace the diversity, appreciate the cultural differences, and work collaboratively towards a more harmonious and the prosperous global society. Thank you so much.